Every salesperson, they have the same 24 hours, yet some people could clear 10 times more commission than you. Why is that? Especially if you both have damn near the same close rate, you studied the same techniques, you do the same objection handling training, the same mock calls, you show up to calls feeling great, yet they're making more money than you. Well, listen, after helping hundreds of closers go from having damn near no sales experience to earning $10, $20, $30,000 months with high ticket remote sales, plus doing it myself and Alex Hormozi and Iman Ghazi's team, I think I may have the answer that you're looking for. And I will say it's almost never a skill problem. The salespeople that are hitting those numbers, they're not necessarily better closers than you. Instead, they have systems built around their sales process that gets more qualified leads in front of them, more of those deals get closed, and none of the money that's sitting in their pipeline gets left on the table. I will show you these systems step by step, that way you could implement them yourself and at least double your commissions. Now, the first thing that I want to touch on is something that I coin as the one thing. And all that means is if there is one thing that you're going to take away from this video and implement immediately that will make you more money as a salesperson, it would be this. Now, make sure you stick around to the end of the video because I am going to talk about how to track your sales data. I'm also going to give you some type of data tracking sheet that you could go ahead and download to track your data as a closer or setter, and also break down what those KPIs mean. But first, to break down that one thing, what it is what to do with your free time if you have a no-show or canceled appointment on your calendar. This is the most underutilized time as a salesperson, and most people just don't understand what the highest revenue driving activity that you could be doing with your free time when you're in sales. So hey, most times when a closer or setter, has an empty slot on their calendar, they either A, don't do anything with their time, or B, maybe they follow up with old leads that they spoke with from months ago that are clearly not interested or don't want your product anymore. And that is not the highest revenue driving activity that you should be doing. So I am going to share with you a tiered list of what to do. That way, hey, if you have a free hour or two on your calendar, just follow this list step by step, and this will generate the most cash and the most appointments as a salesperson. Now, the first thing I'm going to touch on is an honorable mention. This is extremely important, and a lot of people don't realize that, is hey, if I have a free hour, the first thing I'm going to do is check in with myself and make sure my mindset is right and take care of myself. It sounds kind of silly, but listen, I mean, if you are selling at a high level and speaking with 8, 9, 10 people a day, having 45-minute conversations, it's a lot of talking and a lot of brain power that you are exerting to have those conversations. And I was notorious for this. If I had a full calendar, man, I would go 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours sometimes, and I would not eat. And so the first thing I'm gonna do if I have a no-show or canceled appointment is check in on myself and feed myself, right? Drink some water, maybe go on a walk, make sure my head is screwed on straight, because I wanna make sure that I am sharp as a tack, enthusiastic as hell, an expert in my field, and clearly have the right mindset in order to have these conversations at a high level. So number one of what I'm doing with my free time, I'm checking in on myself, I'm eating, I'm drinking water, going on a walk if needed, and then I'm going to number two. Number two, if I have a no-show or canceled appointment, I am going to dial my leads that I already have booked to my calendar for the next day and try to pull that conversation in to have the sales call now. I'll screen share with you what my calendar looks like when I do that, but the reason why this is important is because sales is a volume game. If I have a no-show, I'd rather pull in one of my leads from tomorrow to speak today. That way, hey, I could speak to them while they're hotter in a more warmed up lead. And then on top of that, have an empty slot in my calendar tomorrow. That way new calls could go ahead and get booked in. Now, you may have heard of the term speed to lead. All this means is like, hey, the best time to speak with the lead is when their intent level is at the highest. And so the reason why this is so effective is that if you could get a lead booked in from tomorrow or the following day to have the conversation today, rather than 1 or 2 days out, you are speaking to them at a higher intent level, meaning they will be easier to close. So again, the second thing I'm doing with my free time, if I have a no-show or canceled appointment, I am dialing my leads from tomorrow and Wednesday and saying, hey, what's up going on, Mr. Prospect? This is Alex with XYZ team. We have that conversation booked in for tomorrow. Do you remember that? Okay, awesome. I'm super excited to speak. By the way, I had a free hour open up right now. Are you able to just jump on the Zoom right now to have the conversation? Would that be okay with you? And as long as they give me the thumbs up, I'm gonna go ahead and bring that conversation in now, close the deal, and then now I have an empty time slot on my calendar for tomorrow where a new call, a higher intent lead could go ahead and book in. Now, third and lastly of what I'm doing with my free time, if I have a no-show or canceled appointment, is I am dialing the no-show or canceled call lead list. Right now, most people don't do this or don't realize this. You know, some closers, when they have free time, maybe they're dialing a lead list, but they're not dialing the right one. Your no-show and canceled call lead list tends to have the highest intent leads that maybe forgot about their appointment and they didn't show up, or hey, an emergency came up, so they decided to cancel the call but forgot to book it in. And all it takes is like a 3 to 5 minute conversation with them to go ahead and book that call back in. And so listen, you guys, if I had a free hour, sometimes I would dial that lead list and within like 30 or 45 minutes, I would book in 3 to 4 appointments in for myself. And the conversation was super easy and simple because it didn't take any discovery work or anything along those terms. All I'm saying when I dial them is, hey, Mr. Prospect, this is with Alex with ABC team. You had a call booked in with us for this past Thursday. Do you remember that? Once they say, yeah, I remember, I think something came up, I'll be like, yeah, I'm not sure what happened. I don't know if our team canceled it or maybe if you had something going on. But anyways, I just wanted to ask, are you still interested in real estate? Once they say, oh yeah, I'm still interested in with real estate, I just had a doctor appointment come up, I'm gonna say, oh cool, no worries. Well, why don't we book in a time for tomorrow and we could have that conversation that you plan to have this past Thursday. And that's really all it takes to book in those appointments. I mean, typically the highest intent leads who just probably forgot about their appointment or had something going on, it takes a 5-minute conversation to get those people booked back in. And so that's my tiered list, but I wanna screen share my calendar for you and show you exactly what I mean with step number 2, which was dialing your leads from the next day and pulling them in to have a conversation today. So this is my calendar here that you're looking at when I was closing for Thak Nguyen, Springboard to Wealth. He had a real estate investing offer that was like $8,000 to $10,000, and we had a $30,000 upsell as well. And just to break down these colors, I always keep my calendar color coordinated. This is the breakdown here, the legend, I guess that you could say. Red means no show, blue means close, purple is a deposit, light green means follow up, AKA I did not close them, right? They told me no and I wasn't able to get the deal closed. Now on this Monday, what I mean by, the second best thing to do with your time is, hey, in the morning I had 2 people who no-showed, right? I believe both of them messaged me ahead of time and canceled the call. And so what I did was, number 1, take care of my mindset, right? So I ate some food and made sure I was good because I was gonna have a lot of conversations that day. But then number 2 is I started dialing my leads from Tuesday and just saying something simple. Hey, had some free time, open up. Are you able to jump on our Zoom call now? And I was able to get this guy Z Mao to have the conversation today rather than Tuesday, and I closed the deal, right? I was able to speak to him at a higher intent level rather than waiting an extra day. And then not only that, I opened up another time slot on my calendar for Tuesday where another call was able to get booked in. And then if I skip forward here, I believe I did the same thing. Yeah, I did the same thing on Thursday, right? I had another 2 no-shows, and so made sure my mindset was right. And Thursdays I usually take a half day to pick my daughter up from school and hang out with her for a little bit. Benefits of remote sales, right? And I dialed my leads from Friday. I was able to get this person, Leland, this girl, to have the conversation on Thursday rather than Friday. I ended up closing her, and then hey, I had an extra time slot opened up for Friday where a new call could go ahead and get booked in. And so it's really as simple as that. Again, sales is a volume game, meaning if you could have more conversations than everybody else and close at a consistent rate, you'll close more deals and make more money. Okay, so let's start with this. Think of your sales week like a pipeline. At the very top, you have the leads that get booked into your calendar. Those leads will move through the day as you take the calls. And at the very, very bottom, that is where you collect commission and close deals. Now, the issue is that most salespeople, they don't even realize that they got a bunch of damn leaks in their pipeline. Maybe leads book in, but they go cold before the call because they're not warmed up. So they either no-show the appointment or they show up, not even interested in buying, and they just want to ask you a ton of questions that could have been covered before the call. Or maybe you have 10 calls that you didn't close from the week before, but you forget about them entirely because you don't have an accurate follow-up process. Or maybe you have a low cash collected per close, right? There's a lot of money being left on the table because all you're doing is pitching payment plans. None of that is a skill problem. I'd argue that is a systems problem. The sales guys that are earning, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 months, sure, not only are they maybe better at sales than you, but they also have better systems around their sales process compared to yourself. So what are they doing to prevent that leakage, and how could you copy them? Now, for you watching this, I need you to become obsessed with tracking your sales data. I need you to nerd out over it, okay? And I understand your sales manager tells you to, probably track your close rate, but that's not cutting it in 2026. Your close rate just tells you how many deals you close out of the amount of live calls that you've taken. That's really it. It tells you nothing about why you're closing or why you're not closing these deals. And it also tells you nothing about the actual money that you're leaving on the table. Now listen, it did take me some time to figure this out, but when I did, sales became significantly easier. So I'm just gonna go ahead and screen share it with you. Now I have this cute data tracking dashboard that I created with the help of AI. I'm actually gonna give this to you in the link in the description. So you just need to go ahead, we'll email it to you, right? So put your email, I'll email it over to you. That way you could use it. I do have mock data inside of here that I just added in for the sake of this video, but the most important metrics for you to track is a couple of them. I'm gonna explain that now. You could ignore the other metrics for now, right? Now, number one, the first and foremost thing you wanna track is your offer to close rate. And so you could see here 56.67%. All that means is that out of all of the calls that I've taken that I actually pitched and dropped price to, how many of those deals that I closed? And so what this data tells us is like, hey, if I took 10 sales calls and I pitched all 10 of them and dropped price, 56% of those leads actually closed and paid at the end of the call. Now, from there, the second important key metric that you want to track is your no-show rate and your show rate. And then we have your cash collected per close, which is marked here as CCPC. All that means is, hey, out of the 5 or 6 deals, let's say you close 6 deals, right? Out of the 6 deals that I close, what is the average cash collected that I collected from those leads on those 6 calls? And finally, we have your follow-up to close percentage. Now, this one's pretty simple. All this means is, hey, let's say I took 10 calls and I closed 5 deals. Those other 5 deals that you did not close go into the follow-up category. Your follow-up to close percentage means out of those 5 calls that you got put in the follow-up category, how many of them were I able to reignite, follow up with, and get them across the line? Now, when you have these numbers, you stop guessing and you start fixing the right things in your sales process. If your show rate is low, the problem is pre-call nurture. If your close rate is low, the problem is on the call. If your average cash collected per closed deal is low, that means you're giving too many payment plans and you need to understand how to use financing options or different ways to collect more cash with every deal that you close. And lastly, if your follow-up to conversion percentage is low, that means you have a pipeline full of cash of people that you need to follow up with to get them across the line. So now that you know the numbers, now we need to show you the actual systems. That way you can improve these conversion percentages. And we'll start with what you should do before you ever hop on the call. First thing we'll touch on is pre-call nurture. The 30 minutes before your actual sales call is some of the most underutilized time that you could use in sales, right? So the first thing that you want to do before you take your sales call is spend 5 minutes and open up your CRM as I have here and look through the leads notes, right? Any notes that the setter left or that is on maybe their application form that you filled out, you want to read through this. That way your prospect feels like you actually know, like, and trust them. All right, so I screen shared my CRM with you, and the reason why I'm doing this is to talk about pre-call preparation. The 5 or 10 minutes that you have before your next sales call is some of the most underutilized time that you could use that's actually gonna push the pace forward with the conversation. So whenever I have a sales call, I am going to jump in the CRM, and the first thing I'm gonna do is get familiar with the person that I am about to speak with. So I'm gonna read through the setter notes that are posted here. As you can see, here's some notes in this mock example for you, or even read through the notes on their application form that they filled out in order to book the call. You'll be so surprised how much smarter you could look with just 5 or 10 minutes of preparation, right? So instead of starting the sales call just asking random rapport-based questions, hey, where are you from? What do you do from work? What's the biggest thing that you're looking for help with? I'm gonna jump in and get straight to the point and say, hey, Adam, I saw you're from Vancouver, is that correct? Cool, man. By the way, I saw that you're working in a restaurant. What type of restaurant are you working in? And finally, I'm gonna pivot right to the problem of the conversation right away. Okay, cool. Well, nice to meet. I saw in your application form or from the conversation that you had with XYZ person yesterday, he shared some notes with me and he mentioned that you're wholesaling real estate right now, but you're struggling with getting any contracts on these homes that you're looking into. Is that correct? Okay, cool. Is there anything else you'd add on to that? Again, you'll be so surprised how much smarter you look and how much rapport and trust you'll build with a prospect by knowing stuff about them before the conversation even starts. Now, this applies to any industry and all types of sales, but especially B2B. You will look so much smarter and so much more like an expert if a business owner jumps on the call and you are able to break down and ask specific questions about their business because you just did 5 minutes of research or opened up the CRM and read some notes on the damn prospect before you had the conversation. Now, there's a few other things that I do directly before the sales call. First thing I'll do is I'll put in some eye drops. Number 2 is I'll use my Boom Boom stick. Boom Boom sticks are those like mint Vicks sticks that you use when you're sick that supposedly helps like unclog your stuffy nose. I'll take a whiff of that into each nostril, put some eye drops in because it wakes me up and locks me in. There's this actual thing, I forgot who talks about it. It's an actual study. It's called anchoring. Right? And so you could train your brain by anchoring a specific action to another action. That way, hey, if you have this routine before every single sales call where you're hitting your boom boom stick and putting in some eye drops, over time, you actually trigger your brain into realizing, okay, I'm about to get on a sales call. It is time to lock in, right? And so anchoring is huge. And before every single sales call, I don't always do the eye drops because, you don't want to be doing too many of those, but I will always puff that boom boom stick, that Vicks stick, directly before the call because that is my anchor and my way to anchor myself into my chair and lock in that I am ready to have the conversation. Now, the second thing I'll do is a quick 5-minute guided meditation, sometimes 10 or 15 minutes. I usually do this before I start my day, and reason being, the best salespeople are just really, really good listeners. And if your brain is all over the place and you have a lot going on in your life, I know I do, right? I have a daughter, I have things I'm worrying about sometimes, or a lot of stuff going on in my day. There's been times where I get on a sales call and they're talking to me, but my brain is like, who knows where, right? I'm not even paying attention to what they're saying. And so anchoring by using that boom boom stick, but also doing a quick 10-minute, 15-minute guided meditation where my eyes are closed. I'm just using some YouTube video guided meditation. It really helps me lock in before my conversations. That way I could be the best version of myself on every single sales call that I take. Now, doing these things, they will have an impact on your close rate, your cash collected rate, but also just the quality of conversations that you're having on a day-to-day basis. People will like you, they will trust you, you will build quicker rapport, place yourself as an expert, and you will look a hell of a lot smarter on your conversations just by having a little bit of a pre-call preparation guide. But what I want to talk about next is how to improve your show rate, because what a lot of people think is show rate has nothing to do with me. That is in the company's hands. Well, you're wrong, because there is a handful of things that you could be doing that could dramatically increase your show rate. Now, to improve your show rate, it's really simple. You just need to have some pre-call best practices, right? And all this means is feeding content and sending information to your prospect before the actual sales call. And the reason being is this thing called the prospect buy box. I'm gonna run through it really quick. All this means is that typically when leads book a call, they book in at like the curiosity interest level. And every day that goes by without them consuming some type of information that pertains to your product or offer, their interest level tends to drop. And so that is why you're getting no-show appointments. It's not because, some random guy named Alex Beck thought it would be funny to, book a call and put my information in, then just no-show the appointment on a random Wednesday or Thursday, right? It's because when I booked the call, hey, maybe I was curious in what you guys had to offer, but then 2-3 days goes by, I forget about it, I don't consume any information about your guys' product or offer, and I go from being curious to not interested, and I don't show up to the appointment. And so to improve your show rate and to improve the quality of conversations that you have, what you need to do is interest stack your prospects. And all that means is sending customized content to your prospect. That way they go from booking at maybe curious, but we give them the right content, the right testimonials, the right pre-call videos, or maybe podcasts of the founders. And next thing you know, they consume the right stuff, they book it curious, but they come into your call general or highly interested. Not only is that gonna make the conversations easier for you, but it's also gonna improve your show rate. And so what I want you to do after this is to create a little bank of like 5 or 6 videos that you could send to prospects by sending them a text message, whether that's testimonial videos, interviews of clients who crush it and do really well with your offer, a podcast of the founder. Maybe your team has a pre-call preparation video that they want everybody to watch. And this is stuff that we should be feeding to prospects over text message that we are sending as closers. Now, maybe you're saying like, Alex, my team does this and they do it themselves over email. that is not good enough. That is called a spray and pray, right? They are just sending as much shit as possible to your prospect, hoping they open at least one email and something sticks that's gonna warm that prospect up before the sales call. And we could take a simple 5 or 10 minutes out of our day to, send customized content to the prospect that they'll actually consume because it's coming from a real human being. And so what I'm gonna do is exactly here on the bottom. Every day when I start my day with sales, I'm going to message all of my leads that I need to speak with the next day. And so for example, if it's a Monday morning, I am going to text all the leads on my calendar on Tuesday. And it's a simple message thread. You guys could literally copy and paste this, right? Hey, my name's Alex. I'm part of the team here at XYZ company. Number 2, I'm gonna say, I saw we had a meeting at X time, tomorrow at about 3 p.m. Is there any specific questions that need answering that would prevent you from showing up? And I'm sending those messages back to back. Now, when they send a response with whatever questions that they have, how does it work? Do you have testimonials? I'm going to send them customized content rather than typing out a response and ask them to watch that video before our call. Now, at the very bottom here, I have a couple things to touch on, which is pre-call best practices, right? Not only will this raise your show rate, it's going to establish rapport with your prospect because now they're speaking with the guy that they're supposed to speak, or the girl, right, on the close call on that Tuesday. It's going to naturally raise the interest level of your prospect. It's going to get rid of sales calls being education-based calls, meaning somebody who jumps on and says like, yeah, I don't really know if I want to do this, but could I just ask you a lot of questions on how this works? But it's also gonna raise your close rate as a closer and raise your set rate as a setter. Man, implement this. I would say this may be the one thing I'd say. Whenever I have somebody, a closer, implement these things, their close rate will literally shoot up 20, sometimes 30% without them changing anything about their calls. And just think of it backwards, right? I mean, Hormozi talks about this all the time. I think it takes like 8 hours of, content consumption for somebody to know, like, and trust you. Yet as a salesperson, a lot of times we're speaking with leads or prospect who maybe only consumed like 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours of information. So when they book the call, let's contact them and try and get them to consume more custom information based off the question that they told you they had. And so if somebody says over text like, hey Alex, yeah, the question I have is like, how does real estate investing actually work? Maybe I'm gonna send a podcast of Thak breaking down real estate investing and his story of how he went from owning 0 properties to owning 200 properties. Or maybe they say like, hey Alex, yeah, my question is like, will this actually work in my area? I live in Maryland and I saw a lot of, the people you work with live out in Seattle. Boom, right there, I could search up or send a message to my sales manager and say like, hey, do we have any testimonials of people from Maryland? He sends me the video, I send it back to the prospect. Next thing you know, you have these leads that were at first curious about the offer. We're giving them the right content, the right information. They're consuming more hours of material that's having them know, like, and trust you. And they go from curious to generally interested to highly interested to convicted. And that is where the deal gets done. Now, one of the easiest metrics to improve, put it this way, you could literally double your commission while keeping the same close rate just by improving this one metric. Now that metric is your cash collected per close. And again, I explained that earlier. All that means is like, hey, if I close 10 deals, what is the average cash collected of all those calls that I took? And so if you keep track of that data and you see that your cash collected per close is rather low, right? Let's say you sell a $10,000 offer, but your cash collected per close, your average is about $2,500. That is extremely low. And all it means is that you're giving away too many payment plans. And so there's 2 ways to fix that. Number 1 is you need to stay in pocket more in the close. So if I drop a $10,000 price point, maybe you're letting up too easy, right? And instead of handling objections and going for that close on the 10K, we're not handling the objection and we're just offering a payment plan. Or option 2 is we need to get better at pitching financing options. I'm gonna break down those financing options to you now. But think of it this way, you could have a 30% close rate. Maybe you made $10,000 in commission that month. Your average cash collected per close is $2,500. You could keep the same close rate, but double your cash collected per close from $2,500 to $5,000, and you will go from 10K in commission to 20K in commission without changing your close rate, just by learning how to collect more cash on every single deal that you close. And again, the 2 ways you do that is by staying in pocket in the close more to get more PIFs, or getting better with pitching financing options. And most times for most people, it's a mix of both of those. And so the way I pitch financing options is super, super simple. Typically what I do is when a prospect says like, hey, I can't really afford this, I really want to do this. Number one is you want to isolate the objection, right? So I'm going to say like, okay, cool. Money aside, I totally hear you. Number one, do you feel like this is a thing you need to get to XYZ goal? Yes. Okay. Well, if you had the money, would you do it? Yes, I would 100% do it, Alex. Okay, so just to be sure, it seems like this is more of a thing like if we could make it work, financing wise, then you would be ready to take a step forward. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, cool. Then this is what I say to pitch financing options. I say, awesome, Mr. Prospect. So let me ask you this. Have you ever shopped on Amazon? And everyone shopped on Amazon, right? So they say yes. I'll be like, cool. Have you ever seen that thing on Amazon called Klarna or Affirm or Clarity Pay, whatever it is that you're deciding to use? And by the way, Amazon, they do have these options in order to order something off them, right? And we could use these exact same options as a salesperson closing high ticket, right? And so most times people will say like, yeah, no, I haven't really heard of it, but I do shop on Amazon. And so what I'm doing right there is creating familiarity with, this financing option I'm about to present to them by connecting it with a huge company that everybody trusts called Amazon. And so again, to repeat it one more time, I'm gonna say, Mr. Prospect, listen, I think I have an option that may work for you. Have you ever shopped on Amazon? Yeah, 100%, I have shopped on Amazon. Okay, cool. Have you ever seen those options on Amazon called Klarna? Whether they say yes or no, what I'm gonna say is, yeah, that may be a really viable option for you because you'll be able to split this up in like as little as a couple $100 a month. And it'd be a really good way to make this into digestible payments for you. Is it cool if we walk through that together? And if you say it with the right tonality and connect it to a big company that they already know, like, and trust, everybody will say, yes, let's check it out. And then you could go ahead and screen share and walk them through that payment option. Cool. Now, really quick, some sauce for you guys. I wanted to screen share this with you because I think it'll be super helpful. If you're in sales already, even if you're not in sales, this is typically what a payment link looks like. And these Klarna, Affirm, Clarity Pay options will be on your link here. Now, the second best option that I like is Amex Blue and an Apple credit card. Now, this does need to be for US-based leads, but the reason why these work really well is they have a high acceptance rate, but on top of that, they give you a digital card after you apply and get approved. Meaning I could apply to Amex Blue Card right now, and once they approve me, they're gonna say, congratulations, Alex, you have a $20,000 spending limit, and here's your digital card number that you could copy and paste right now. And let's say you have a lead who doesn't want to do Klarna, or maybe they're really open to credit cards because it's a business owner, right? And so they like opening credit cards to utilize for their business, or it's a real estate offer. We could walk them through applying to a Amex Blue credit card or even an Apple card, and they will give them a digital card number at the end of applying that you could then use and put into your payment link and get them to pay in full. I mean, I have done this so many times. Amex Blue should give me a damn referral fee. I closed so many deals with Amex Blue, not as much with the Apple credit card, but everybody likes Amex, right? And they give you very, very high limits once you get approved and you get that digital card right away. Now, you may be saying, Alex, like, isn't that a little bit disingenuous? Like, you're really getting people to open up credit cards and, isn't that's a little bit crazy? No, I completely disagree with you, right? Because number one is like, I'm always selling a product or an offer that I actually believe in, right? Number two is, if I'm presenting these options, it's because I'm convicted that what we have today is the best next step forward for the prospect based off their current situation, right? Now, number three is I'm asking tie down questions to make sure this is something they're aligned with and something that they really want to do. It's the reason why when they say this is too expensive, the first thing I'm doing is isolating the objection and getting alignment. I'm asking like, hey man, pricing aside, that's cool. I get it, but do you feel like this will actually get you where you want to go, right? Are you convicted in this? Are you serious about this? Once I get all those yeses, I believe in the product, I believe it's the next step for them, then it is in my best interest to find the best way to make this as feasible as possible for them, right? And what you don't know about these credit cards, Amex Blue, they have a 0% APR for like 24 months. And so what that means is they could pay $10,000 today for our product and not make a single payment towards Amex for 24 months, and they will get zero interest. And so that is a stellar option, right? I even presented this to people sometimes who had the cash They had the $10,000 in the bank, but I was like, hey man, this is really smart. You should do this. Amex Blue, great credit card to have. You want to build a relationship with Amex anyways, huge crediting company in the States, and 0% APR for 24 months, right? They're going to give you a super high limit. I had so many people saying like, yeah, dude, super smart idea. Let's do it. Let's walk forward. And boom, next thing you know, PIF. Now, these systems that I'm sharing with you, these are the same things that I had people like Samuel Yazinski, Jay Lefebvre, Tony Skinner, Victoria Haverance, Mark Miller, right? Same systems that I had them implement into their sales process that helped them make a hell of a lot more money with sales without actually getting better or changing anything about their close calls. So whether you're new to sales or even if you're in sales already, but you want to be in a position where you're a top 1% earning remote high ticket sales rep, click the link in the description and my team will reach out just to see if you're a good fit or answer questions you have, right? And see, if there's any way that we can actually help you. Now, this last system that I'm about to share with you is something that helped me on average, like add an extra $50,000 in cash collected every single month, another $5,000 in commission, right? So nothing crazy, but that is the difference between a top performer and a middle of the pack or bottom performer salesperson, right? It's all of these systems that you're able to implement together on top of the calls you're already taking that generate the highest amount of revenue, right? And so again, the way to think about all these things that I'm sharing with you is what is the highest revenue driving activities that you could be doing as a salesperson outside of the sales calls that you're taking. And so this last piece is my follow-up system. And so the first thing I'll say with this is BAM FAM, right? That is an acronym. It's called book a meeting from a meeting. And so all this means is whenever you have a lead on a call who's not ready to close, or maybe there's some logistics, right? Or something going on that's preventing them from closing the deal, or from closing today, BAM FAM, book a meeting from a meeting. Do not let them get off the call and say like, oh, I'll email you, I'll send you a text message. No, book the next point of communication in. And so if I have a lead that I'm speaking to today, let's say today's Friday, and maybe I couldn't get the deal done, or they're saying like, hey, I need to transfer money, I need to pull money out of my investment account, whatever it is, BAM FAM, I'm gonna say, no worries, when is the best time for us to speak again? Are you free Monday at 3 p.m.? Okay, let's get that booked in. Did you receive the email? Did you receive the Zoom link? You do not want to leave your follow-up leads up to chance and up to a phone call and text message. That's how you lose the deal. So BAM FAM, always remember that. If you're on a call and the deal does not close, BAM FAM, book the next meeting with the lead. And if they're not willing to book that meeting, that is an objection that you need to go over with the prospect. Now, the second thing, and my number one way to follow up with old leads that did not close, is something called a reoffer. Okay, so all this means is, number one, when you speak with a prospect, I screen shared my CRM, right? You should have notes that not only the setter put or the application question put inside of the CRM, but notes that you add into the CRM as well as a closer after you speak with the prospect. So if I do not close a deal, I'm gonna add a note for the prospect. This was their goal, this was the big problem they were trying to solve, and this is why the deal did not close. Now, this is super important because it goes into my follow-up system. Now, whenever I have a free moment, right, and I hit my highest revenue driving activities, and maybe I have some leftover time to contact, any cold leads or deals that I couldn't get across a line, I use this reoffer process. And so what I do is I call a prospect that I spoke with in the past. I say, hey John, how you doing? This is Alex from Thak Nguyen's team. Remember the conversation we had this last month? Once they say yes, I'm going to immediately bring up their goal and their problem. Meaning I will say, cool man, I just wanted to ask, I know you wanted to get your first couple properties this year. How's that going for you? Have you been able to get a deal under contract? 99% of the time, these people say no. And then I'll say, cool, were you able to solve that big problem that you have, XYZ? Meaning like, hey, have you been able to solve that problem, by the way, of like finding good contractors to renovate these homes that you plan on purchasing? Again, 99% of the time they say no, and then we could give them a reoffer. And a reoffer would be saying something like, okay, so John, listen man, we just started doing this thing as of recent with, any new people that we brought into Springboard, where we're giving them a pretty big discount right now, along with a couple additional calls that you could do with that. I would love to get you on a phone call this Thursday just so we could break it down and go through it. A reoffer, we're giving them a new shiny object as to why they should book a call with us so we could go back for the close. Now, of course, before you start doing re-offers, you need to speak with your sales manager or your sales team and see what you could utilize as a re-offer. Every single sales team I ever spoke with, I would always ask like, hey, is there some type of discount I could give or any additional things in the fulfillment process that I could give to old prospects that I did not close? That way, if I had a lead that I didn't speak with this last month, I could call them, I could bring up their goal and their problem, say, did those things ever get solved? Once they say no, I could give them the re-offer, right? And again, all I'm saying is like, cool, John, so listen, we had this thing where, any new people that we bring in this week, we're gonna give them a couple extra calls with THAC, and they're also gonna get a super huge discount. That way you could really get things rolling for you and make sure you get those 2 properties this year. Is it cool if we speak tomorrow at 2 p.m. about it? Re-offers, they work super well. I close so many people on re-offers, and typically what it was for me was a discount. And so I would just ask my sales manager and say like, hey, do you mind speaking with the big man Thak Nguyen and asking if I could give $1,000 discount to leads that are older than a month that I did not close from a month ago? And most times they were like, yeah, dude, fuck it, give it a try. And then I would sit there on my free time and dial someone from a month ago, hit them with the re-offer, get them booked in, and get the deal closed. And so that's my way from following up. I'm not the biggest on like sending a bunch of text message blasts and so forth. Typically, I do have an email sequence that I'll connect all my follow-up leads to. That way the email's blasting them on a consistent basis. But of course, what I do with my free time is I would dial those leads, right? Check in. Hey, John, were you able to solve that big problem, that big goal? No? Okay, cool. Well, I have this really cool shiny object I want to talk to you about. It's a discount. It's extra calls with Thak Nguyen himself. Will you be able to meet with him? Is it cool if we speak tomorrow at 2 p.m. about it? I think it'll help you a ton. Once I get them bought in with the new, shiny object, which is a substantial discount, right? And, maybe some additional fulfillment things that'll help them a ton. And they book in, I go for the close. And the rule is simple. Until somebody tells you explicitly to fuck off, I am not interested, they are still a lead that you should be in contact with via email by having a email sequence that's, sending out testimonials and so forth, or by phone call by doing re-offers, right? So unless somebody tells me, Alex, fuck off, I'm not interested, I am still pushing. And if you ever watch The Wolf of Wall Street, you should know that tip. Unless they say I'm not interested or F off, we keep pushing. So now that you have an actual system in place, you know how to get better leads showing up, how to read your pipeline, and how to maximize the amount of cash that you could squeeze out of each call. You're now good to go. Life is great. You'll make a ton of money in sales. I'm kidding. Systems are good, right? That's how you maximize the amount of cash that you're making and really, stack on the extra 5K, extra 10K in commission every single month. But you also need to understand how to close those deals on live sales calls. So I have a video that should pop up on the screen somewhere right here. Go check it out. I appreciate you for sticking around this long. And as always, once you learn to sell, you will never starve. Thanks.